Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of On the Couch with your host Antoine and my co-host Mr. Little Cowboy. Hope everyone is doing well and this year has been treating you nicely so far. I have a very special episode for you this time. I decided to put a number of artists together representing a community, and that is the Middle Eastern community within our LGBTQ2S plus community. Um, I've got an Egyptian artist, I've got a Persian artist, I've got an Armenian artist. And here are all the beautiful guests that I told you about. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hello.
Thank
Hi.
Hello,
you.
hello, hello. I introduced you that way. I would like you to say hello and maybe just how are you in the different languages. That'd be cool.
Oh, you want me
Hero,
to go first?
hero, go.
Alright. سلام به همگی. امیدوارم که حال همتون خوب باشه. من جاوید هستم و در خدمت شما.
And that's Persian for anybody who did not know. Okay.
I understood everything. No.
You do?
No.
I was like, okay. How do you know that? Okay, Kiro, Arabic.
اهلا وسهلا. صباحا عليكم. احنا النهارده مبسوطين ان احنا نكون هنا مع بعض. العربي بتاع اللي هم فاهمين دلوقتي العربي بتاع متكسر جدا.
He gave a little wink to Arabic people who may understand.
Yeah.
All right, and Armenian.
Yeah, I actually understood what both of you said a very little
You
bit.
do?
Like,
Oh,
the
cool.
beginning,
Nice. Smart.
just the beginning. But in Armenian, it would be parev, inchbeses, or inchbesek if you're addressing more formally or more of a group.
I love,
That's
I love,
amazing.
I love this. I love cultures and languages and all the richness of all this that we all have. So I'm gonna get each of you to talk about the work that you do in the community. So kind of your claim to fame. Let's start with Javid. Javid?
Javid, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's-
Tell me about you've created a show and you've created a bit of work here. What are you doing in the community to encourage Persian people to come out and be represented?
Yeah, actually, we started this show about 2 years ago. And it all started from me watching RuPaul Drag Race and be like, oh, that's such a great way to introduce the LGBT community to other people.
Yeah.
But, I'm pretty sure as Middle Eastern people, you totally understand what I have to say that as Middle Eastern people, there are lots of things that we are not allowed to have. And drag was one of them. And that was always bothering me by seeing that, oh, this is such a great way to introduce the community, but we don't have that.
Yeah.
And also, there are lots of people who would love to do this, but they don't do it because of the language barrier.
Okay.
And
Mm.
the different cultures that we have from the American culture. And I was like, okay, I remember I was talking to my partner and I was telling him that, oh, God damn it, I wish 50 years ago someone started this so we could do it today. And he was like, you're just imagine 50 years later, a kid will say that I wish 50 years ago.
Oh my God! What a beautiful answer. Good for him.
Right? Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Somebody has to do it, right?
Yes, exactly. It has
Yes,
to start from
somebody has to
somewhere.
take the
Instead of
first
sitting
step.
down and acting like a victim, it's better to start doing something.
Yeah. Good. So, what did you do?
I started this show with me and one of my very old friends.
Okay.
At the beginning, there was just me and her. We started the show with barely have 25 people as an audience.
Okay.
And but by the time it got bigger and bigger, and the last show we had, there was more than five performers and about 200 people
Wow.
per audience.
Where do you do the show?
We usually do that in the Persian it's not nice to call it Persian area because it's not totally Persian area, but in Richmond Hill, which is the heart of the Persian community in Toronto.
Okay. And if somebody's looking for information about how to get there, where would that be available?
They can check our website, PersianDragShow.com, and also they can follow us on Instagram, Persian Drag Show.
Persian
on
Drag
Instagram
Show.
as well.
Cool. I like it. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I really love what you guys are doing because I'm probably the longest who's been here. I don't know, Kero, maybe you too. I've been here for 33 years, and at the beginning of our community back in the late 80s, maybe there was Middle Eastern people who did drag, but they didn't do it as part of our culture. They were just, you know, part of drag. But I really, only in the last maybe decade that I started seeing this action, people actually taking steps to introduce our beautiful culture, in my opinion, to a North American audience. So fantastic. I'll get back to you.
By doing this show, we are reaching lots of different goals, like introducing the LGBT community to Persian people is one of them. At the same time, we are trying to introduce the Persian culture to the people who are living in Toronto by introducing to them the highlights that we have in our in the Persian calendar, like Nowruz and Yalda and all this different cultural things.
And it creates safer spaces, and we'll talk about that when we talk about representation and later on in the show. I'll leave you to the last, Kero, just because you bug me.
I know, because I talk a lot. Not too much already.
I'm going to check in with Annoush now. What are you doing for the Armenian community in Toronto?
I mean, that is a very bold statement. Even when you said claim to fame, I was like, I think I'm just getting started. I cannot claim any form of fame.
Well, looking like this, you're gonna be famous. So
I mean,
no.
Right? Not me.
I've only seen her perform in videos, and immediately I was like, I need you in my
nice.
So,
I trust Kero's opinion. They know what they're looking for. So,
yeah. When you start something, Annoush, it's like you're already half done.
Totally.
So don't worry
what
about
a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, that is a good way to put it.
So what's the show about? What do you do? What does it happen? All that.
Yeah, so I formally in drag have been performing under a year. But essentially, like, the start of my drag for me was something I've always wanted to do, but I didn't know what felt the most authentic to me until, I had the idea of bringing my culture into it, and that felt the most authentic. And I realized that in both of the worlds, there's no formal space for either one, like similar to what Javid was saying. In the Armenian community, there's no space for any form of queerness formally. And in the queer world, there is no like Armenian representation specifically. And within like all of our cultures in like the Middle Eastern, Swana, Mediterranean region, there's, no space in the queer world for it. But we're all trying to do our thing. We're all trying to make our mark. We're all trying to represent our cultures and our communities and create safe spaces for everybody. So realizing that is kind of what made me start my drag. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take up the space and do it. So like you guys said, someone's got to do it. So I'll do it. I'll take the death threats that come. I'll take the shit.
Does it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Seriously? Okay. Well, we'll try to address that if we get to in the show. You do the event is at Kingston Market. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I do monthly brunches at an Armenian cocktail bar here in Toronto in Kensington Market called the theBUZZ.
Nice.
It's like my home. I love that. I love that place. So we do monthly Armenian brunches there, where even the food has like an Armenian spin to it. And I'm starting my own show as well called A Night Around the World. And it's essentially integrating drag and culture together. So all the performers that will be performing, I've asked to come in for them to represent their cultures, whether it's through fashion, through sound, through performance. I want to bring culture more into the drag scene and into the drag community.
More power to you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we don't care about the third guest. Let's move on to the next.
Okay, bye.
I met this lovely human actually at the Arabic stage for Pride Toronto, maybe 6 years ago. I can't remember.
Seven
And
years ago.
yeah, and it's kind of what I said is I wasn't used. I've been here very integrated in the queer community in Toronto. I've been part of the people that marched for our human rights. All that sort of stuff started in media early, but I've never seen our community Arabic represented in the community. So number one, I was very impressed that Pride Toronto has an Arabic stage, so I had to go, and everybody looked like they may know each other or whatever. It's like, is something happening behind my back that I don't know about? Is there really an Arabic community within the queer community? And then somebody says, go talk to that guy. And I talked to that human, and I love what he's doing, and we've been working on a lot of things. So introduce me to the lovely Middle Eastern Nights.
Yeah, Middle Eastern Nights. It started off with, man, first of all, it started off with the name Arabian Nights LGBTQ, because I wanted to be very clear that this is a queer event, but it's also, my goal was to make it super inclusive. How it all started though was, like you, Antoine, I mean, I think we were a handful of Middle Easterners back in the day. 20 years ago, I'd be out in the village and I'd be like, there's like 5 of us, and we never spoke to each other because
basically, right?
Yeah, because there was a shame. There was a shame even admitting.
I don't want to say this on this. I used to say I'm Italian.
I used to do the same thing. I used to say I'm Greek, Italian, Dominican Republic, depending on what color contacts I wore, right? So it was really sad. It's funny now, but it's also sad at the same time. And then all of a sudden, you know, after having traveled and done work abroad and the work that I do, when I came back, I saw there was a huge Middle Eastern community and of newcomers, but they were craving to go to a Middle Eastern dance party, and they had created a Facebook group that I was invited to, and they were like, oh, well, you know, there's a party hall in my building here. We don't know a DJ and so on, and they're all newcomers, and I saw that was beautiful, and I'm like, hold on, I have access to those resources and to the community. I have the network. Why don't I take that and create something for the community? So I started Arabian Nights LGBTQ thinking that it was going to be a complete failure. Literally, I thought, you know what?
It still is.
People, they're not. So my first night there, I'll never forget, you know, the doors open at 10. And people were not showing up, and I was like, oh my God, that's okay. I figured like maybe 50 people will show up. 400 people later, by the end of the night, nice. I was like, oh my God, right? So this was amazing. And then, so 3 years in, KeroPatra was born on so many levels, and I guess we're going to talk about that later. But I did change the name from Arabian Nights to Middle Eastern Nights because the Middle East is beyond the Arabic language.
I liked when you made that move. I really liked Arabian Nights with a K.
With a K, yeah, that's how I had it. But it was so
cool play. But I really liked it when you changed to Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern Nights gave it a very more inclusive feel, very welcoming, and I wanted to play that diversity of the Middle Eastern world, because when the name was Arabian Nights, the Arabic-speaking community were like, well, this is not Arabic. I'm like, oh my God, are we for real right now? Like, it's not...
They're always going to say something. Everyone's going to
somebody exactly.
Oh my God, yeah, and it never stops. And they're the same ones who complain from the beginning of the night. They're always the last ones to leave, sweating. Always.
And you've done very successfully with it. Middle Eastern Night is very well known in the community. It happens. It has changed homes on Church Street a couple of times, right? It happens at the Black Eagle now, and it is monthly or bi-monthly?
Every other month. Yeah, it's every other month at the Black Eagle. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, at the Eagle, I'm like, it was my home bar growing up in the community. It's where I felt safe. And I remember it being so inclusive and so welcoming back in the day, and it still is. And I was like, I want to bring that feel, but also with the sex positivity attitude to it as well, that we are sexual people as Middle Easterners, and you should be able to enjoy your sexuality as a Middle Eastern and take that shame away from it while you're having a party, right? So
I'm just gonna clarify to our audience, our viewers, that Black Eagle is a space in Toronto. It's more of a leather sex bar club. It's more male throughout our history, very very well known and respected in terms of what they brought to the community. But as Kiro says, they always felt welcoming of everybody, although it was a specific space. I did wonder when you moved whether it's gonna are we going to be able to have females, different generations, etc., or is that going to deter them from going to the club? But it seems like it hasn't at all. So.
Oh my God, it's so diverse and inclusive. It's very heartwarming to see, because one of my biggest things is I wanted to create a safe space for trans folks in particular. And I'd say 1/3 of the people attending identify as trans openly now, and they show up in their transness and queerness, and they have the best time. And that's something that is very hard to see. But it's also the non-Middle Eastern peoples that are just having the time of their lives as well, dancing to Middle Eastern house music and belly dancing and so on. It does what the Middle Eastern community, the music and the culture of Middle East is supposed to do for people, right? So yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you all of you for what you're doing. I really really appreciate seeing people taking those steps. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back with our guests, so don't go anywhere.
I love my lips, my beautiful lips. I love my eyes, my beautiful eyes. I respect nature. I love all living things. Beauty is kind. I am beautiful. Love the earth. Love your life. Live life healthy.
Welcome back, everyone, and we're talking to some fantastic people who are doing some amazing work in our LGBTQ community, introducing us to new and exciting cultures. Why don't we just chat a little bit about how did you get here? How did you get to Canada?
I left my back home. I left Iran at the age of 26 because, by all this political stuff is going on in Iran in the past 40 years, it's not easy to live in such a country that, being gay is punishable. And, I'm sure everyone knows about this, all those things about like a republic, the Islamic Republic in Iran. So it was not easy to live there. Like I remember me and my partner, we are not allowed to even rent a place because we were single, and just imagine for the other, all the other stuff. So we decided to move to Turkey. And we moved to Turkey in 2013, and I was there as a refugee. And after 28 months, they sent me to Canada.
Okay. So you actually met your partner back home, and you guys traveled all the way to Canada,
and then we broke up in Turkey.
Make a life. Oh, okay. That's a different story.
There were many options.
Right, exactly. I was like,
what's that?
I was going to say that's such a cute story. Now you just destroyed my romantic line. Cool. Annoush.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Toronto, actually, but my parents immigrated here. My dad from Iran, my mom from Kuwait, but obviously of Armenian background.
Oh, really? Your mom is Kuwaiti?
Yeah, born in Kuwait, yeah. And on my mom's side, they kind of lived in Lebanon, Syria, Kuwait. My dad died in Iran. Okay. Obviously, if we trace it back to the genocide where they had to leave Armenia. That's why they were born in those countries. But yeah, I grew up with everyone on this call. I grew up eating all of our dishes and hearing all of our music and integrated into all of our cultures, because that's just the Middle Eastern nature. But
So I was mistaken when I said I'm probably the longest here in Canada. You were born in Canada, so you beat me to that.
I was, but it's still under 33 because I'm a little baby.
I knew you're gonna come back with that line.
I was about to say, I'm like, Antoine, no.
But also probably by the time you came out and into the community, I've experienced all the older community kind of thing of the times when we still did not have our rights and what have you. Kero, who brought you here and why?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea.
I'm going to complain to the government.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my family left to Egypt in 1987, arrived in Montreal July 1st, 1987. I'll never forget, because when we arrived, there was the Canada Day Parade, and we thought that's how Canada welcomed everyone, which was really cool.
They did
Very
great.
naive at the same time.
That's sweet.
Right. But, I mean, we left because growing up in Coptic Orthodox Christian and in a very Muslim influenced country, my parents, it's not anything against Islam, but there was like the Muslim Brotherhood, the extremists of all religions that exist. That was very,
we can't deny that. Yes.
Yeah. So my parents wanted to me and my older brother for us to come here for a better life, and yeah.
Well, welcome. It's a beautiful country to be into. So I do love Canada.
Sorry.
Minus the cold.
Minus the cold, exactly. What do you call it? Let's talk about getting into drag. Why you decided that drag is the way you want to represent and what have you. And I know in some cases it's also part of your identity, and you may want to mention your pronouns. So yeah, why drag? Javid. Yeah.
All right. For me, growing up in such a country like Iran, which men are always in the power, and there are specific rules for men and for women. But I remember when I was growing up, I was always questioning myself that why the color pink is just for women, or why a guy shouldn't cry, and all that, all this specific boxes they put in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always, it's like, oh, there should be a way to break all this, stupid rules.
Okay.
And because we don't have access to so many different things when we are in Iran. After I moved in Turkey, that was the very first time that I found out about RuPaul's Drag Race and the art form of drag. And I was like, oh, that's a great way to break all these rules and show my people that these rules are not, they're not useful anymore. Mm-hmm. They were not useful in the first place, but why we keep bringing all this rules to the new generations.
Perfect.
And in the other hand, I was always having this problem that, as a Persian man, it's such a bad thing if you do the stuff which are for women. That dressing up, wearing high heels, wearing makeup, or wearing bright colors. And to me, drag is something that I can show my people that, no, it's not true. You can do whatever you want.
I love it. Very nice. Very nice. Annoush, what about you?
To the question, why drag? I say, why not drag?
I love the answer. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, drag can be anything, and looking at it culturally, at least from an Armenian perspective, we make so many different art forms: food, music, jewelry, fashion. Those are all considered art forms, and in my mind, it's like, well, also, why not drag? Like, again,
Drag isn't not for obviously.
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have a formal space to intersect with culture, but you know, for me, it was also representing that like femme queer integration with the culture that like we don't see often. And you know, the drag side, at least, like I try to like do like the hyper femme, you know, the very long hair, the makeup, but contrasted with the body hair and the beard, and like challenging ideas of what
I like that.
people think, you know, stereotypically of gender or of people, and like, and then making them question their sexuality a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
I love it, and I love the
Kind of hot.
use of the word challenge. What do you call it? Challenging. Okay, Kero, your story with drag.
I mean,
He came out. KeroPatra came out recently.
yes, I mean, KeroPatra, it's been 5 years. It's
Oh.
her, yeah, she just turned 5 in February.
Happy birthday.
And yeah, I mean, it came from a perspective where I was hearing comments within Middle Easternites, very misogynistic and horrible comments about women.
Okay.
And, you know, me being a not, and also, so there was that, and then it was also at a time of my life where I came to terms with my gender identity as non-binary,
Yeah.
and I used the pronouns they them, and that was a big deal for me because women were always the biggest influence in my life. Even with animals, I love elephants because they're matriarchal, right? Like this was me, and I'm gonna like share a story that might be triggering for some people, but when I was 5, I'll never forget that I was a very effeminate boy. I was very, very effeminate. And my dad threatened me to butch it up or he's going to take me to have gender reassignment surgery to turn me into a woman. And I didn't know what he
That's a
was
threat
talking about.
from a parent.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about. Like I never tried on my mom's heel, never tried on makeup. I was just a very, very effeminate boy. And so what that doing drag was me accepting my feminine side that's always been there, and I love it. And to also send that message to the Middle Eastern community, kind of like what Javed is doing, you know, to say, kill those stereotypes. I'm Egyptian, for fuck's sakes. My ancestors invented makeup and wigs, and the men wore it, and bejeweled outfits, and
Good
they
boy.
did drag. They
Yeah.
were drag queens, right? They were. So I'm just reclaiming my ancestry. I'm reclaiming my history and saying this is not different from almost all of the Middle Eastern history and civilizations. When you take a look
Actually,
at it,
I love that.
we're
I
just
never thought of that. You're right. It was about the costumes and the
it's,
look and the colors and all that sort of
it was
stuff.
very elaborate. It was very
Yeah.
elaborate. And the brighter the colors, the more royal and regal you
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Right?
Drag does not necessarily always mean just you have to look like a woman and be a woman. It just means
No,
an
no, no,
expression
no.
of color
I,
and creativity and yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gender non-conforming,
Yeah.
and it's just this power when you put heels on for your first time and lashes, and you are going to be walking with such empowerment. It's not even normal. Like
Yeah.
I'll never, for the first time I put on these heels, I'm like, I may never take them off. And then I added
Everyone at
and
home
then I
try
added a
it.
corset. I'm like, my back feels good with the corset on. My posture feels right. Tits out. I was ready. So yeah, it's
Everyone
such
at home,
empowering thing.
if you do it at your own discretion because you may never go back.
Yeah, yeah, right. But it's very funny. After that, it changed the perspective. Those men that would always say, "Oh my God, a man who does drag, whatever," literally messaged me in the same night saying, "I want to do you in your heels," like, and I want to see you on laundry.
And this is a PG show, so we gotta stop
Yeah,
that.
and some of them wanted to try drag. Like it's empowered them to want to try drag,
beautiful.
and they're doing it. Yeah, so
Very nice. So yeah, you know what? It's just a reminder that when we take the initiative to do something and take charge and make be the change, other people see it and follow. So very beautiful what you guys are doing. Let's talk about our queer community.
Ugh.
No.
Can we get a therapist down here?
Don't go there. More. Okay. You know what? I do. I know this is a creative show, but I really do like to check within our community. What are we doing right? What could we do better? There's always we can do better. Javid.
Okay, but it's about the Persian community or LGBT
The queer
Persian
community, no, the
LGBT community.
LGBT community in general.
Okay,
Like in the past, I knew it was lacking diversity. It was lacking like a lot of things. We've progressed from that.
it's
So
so funny to me. It's like what I've been seeing in the past 2 years. It's the Persian community. They're pretty open about knowing about us. They're pretty open to be updated.
yeah,
And they always come to the show. 95% of our audience are not from the LGBT community.
okay, okay.
And it's heartbreaking to see that, because what I'm seeing in the past 2 years is, first of all, in our culture, we don't have the word support. It doesn't have any space in our culture, unfortunately. And in the other side is that I think it's because most of our fellows in the LGBT community, they're not out yet, and they kind of scared to show up in the events.
Okay.
This is something different than in the past 2 years. There was no attack from the Persian community to the show. Most of the attacks were from the LGBT community members. It's so heartbreaking to see that.
From
the
Persian?
LGBT.
No,
Yeah.
from Persian LGBT or from the LGBT community in general?
No, from the Persian LGBT
Persian LGBT
community.
Really,
Yeah.
they don't want to see this happening.
There's
Unfortunately, when
Yeah, Kero understands these
there
things.
is something going on in our community that is they all want to be the one. They want to be the one, and they don't want to see someone else is doing something with success. That's how people tell me that
just
you shouldn't
politics.
say
Don't pay
that, but
attention to it, yeah.
I do, because I believe that if we don't talk about the problems that we have, how we gonna solve them?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, good. Thank you for sharing. Annoush.
So just in general of the LGBTQ plus community, right? Are we doing right? What are we doing better? I mean, what are we doing right is a tough question to answer. So I'm going to focus on what we can do better.
Yeah, what can we do better, Isla?
And it's a pretty long list, but what comes to mind right away is, I think, expanding on the idea of like culture and inclusivity. It's getting rid of this like toxic masculinity that I think has such a chokehold on people, and is the root of a lot of shame that I don't think people realize. And when you layer in culture on top of it, we face the shame from our culture and we face the shame from the queerness, and sometimes layered on top, it becomes too much, and then people start projecting, and it just snowballs into something that it really shouldn't be. So I think the queer community should be very supportive of one another. It's kind of like anytime you run into one another anywhere in the world, it's almost like, yeah, we are one of each other, like we got each other's back. That I don't think we necessarily have.
No, we need to have each other's back. We all share a common experience, and there's only us who knows what the others has gone through. So I've always believed that we should and have to have each other's backs. So yeah.
I'd also expand and say like the online culture, of the whole, like, without name dropping apps, but like everyone knows what I'm talking about. Because they're not paying to be sponsored.
No, they're not. So go ahead. Share them another one. Okay.
But like that whole online culture, like where everything or people are like disposable or means to an end and not treating one another as humans and with respect. I think that is what as a community we can do better. Digitally, in person, respect, consent, they are still things that I am not fully experiencing, whether it's on apps or digitally, online, on social media, or in person at events. I I think that people really need to be reevaluating their behavior when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think that is another thing that we can do better.
Thank you, Annoush. That's actually fantastically said. Kiro.
What we're doing right. I mean, the queer community, I think we've come to a point right now where the new people who are new here and creating these movements of activism, I've never thought that this would ever happen in my lifetime here.
With you.
And that for me is so powerful because that inspired me, because when working in the community for so long myself, I was at a point where I was starting to lose hope, where I was like, this is exhausting. I feel so alone. And now I don't, like, I don't at all. And it's like these other leaders.
Because you have me.
No, yes. I mean, but you were an inspiration, Antoine, on so many levels.
Oh, no. I wasn't fishing for that, but thank you.
No, but meeting you, I remember I was like another Middle Eastern who is doing something in the queer community. You're the first for me.
You're very kind. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, this is happening right, and it's going well. It's heading in the right direction. Is it like perfect? Absolutely not. There's still some work to do. What the community could do better is to stop tokenizing us, stop fetishizing us, stop making us as your fetish that you're going to use as a sex toy and then drop us off because you like our tan skin or whatever, or come up to me and go, no.
God.
But those are the things that need to stop, like straight up. Those are like truth talk. These things need to stop.
So embracing and maybe learning more about each other's cultures and backgrounds and respecting it.
That's so important. That's so important. The community is so divided within itself right now, and that's where we need to stop. We need to keep being so divided within ourselves. We keep forgetting, and you have the toxic masculinity behavior, that hyper testosterone filled masculinity, and then that seems to take over a lot, and it's very often driven by colonizing viewpoints of the cisgender heteronormativity, and that's very problematic of what queerness should be. And I think what we need to do better for our Middle Eastern community is to embrace queerness as our own, not how it's dictated by other folks when we came here, because it was predominantly white. So we've adapted to this because we also come from a culture where we were made to believe that having European behavior, all these brand names or so on, gave you a higher class, higher status. And what we don't realize is having the need to be with a white boyfriend or so on, we equated it to that. And we need to stop doing that and just be like, embrace your culture, love your culture, respect it, and speak up. The Middle Eastern community needs to speak up and stop being in the sideline and in the back as well. And that's happening a lot. And we need to really have a voice and be able to be included and be able to say, this is cultural appropriation, stop it. Not only when someone wears a turban and bombs across of them, that's not just insulting or cultural appropriation, and it's not also a costume, but also when, for me, knowing my history of the pharaohs and so on, when someone dresses a certain way and becomes a Halloween costume and made fun of, now that I see it in a different respect, and that's my ancestry, you kind of have to start speaking up and saying, no more, please, and not be scared to say it.
Thank you.
Stop.
And that's what's going to take to change this. I've seen the community change, and yes, we are doing better than the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and we just have to continue pushing for more and better. Representation is very important, and what you guys are doing is creating representation for those in our sub-communities who may have not have seen themselves before. Why do you feel that representation, what does representation do? When you see yourself represented in media and in culture, what do you feel the internal effect of it on a young person, a youth, somebody who's lost, etc.?
For me, growing up, I never seen a drag queen in my life, and I never seen anything about the LGBT community growing up in Iran. And that was too hard, because I always felt like, oh, this is just me feel like this, and like I just felt like I'm trying to swim opposite way of the river, and but today when I'm pretty sure when the young generation sees us, they feel like they are not alone. There are other people out there that that they have the same feelings, and they're not alone.
You're making me want to cry, because not many people will understand unless you lived it. How scary it is when you feel that you are weird and odd and different, and you can't find anything that you can relate to, or you feel that speaks to you or represents you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
in my country, they always try to force you to think that if you're a part of LGBT community, you're sick and you should be all this different ways that they force people to do just because they believe that we're sick.
I get you. You know what? At 13, 12, and born in Kuwait and not knowing where we're going, I kind of actually had this idea that my life is going to go two ways. I'm either going to commit suicide. I hope that's not triggering, or my parents are going to disown me. There was no going out of it. How would you think that you're going to have a positive life if you're not seeing positive representation of what you could become? So thank you, Annoush.
Yeah, representation is super important, and seeing it is such a euphoric feeling. When it comes to drag culture representation, I haven't seen any. I don't know many Armenian drag artists until I started and I posted about it, and then I got connected with like a small handful from around the world, from Germany to North America. But I realized the importance of it when, aside from, the negative messages, but the positive ones completely outweigh it, to get messages from queer Armenians who are like, I'm not even out, or I can't even be queer, and like seeing this on a drag level and seeing our culture taken there is so lovely. Like I would like cry at almost all the messages that I would read, and like I'm not one to cry, but that is, I've realized, like my soft spot, and like what I understand, it's more than it's like being liberated and open, and seeing that like, oh, someone else has done it, someone else is doing it, I can do it too in my way, whatever that looks like. There's no blueprint to follow, it's just doing what feels natural. But you kind of almost feel like there's like permission to do it once you see someone else doing it.
Yeah, that's what representation makes you feel that you can do this too. Thank you. That's beautifully said. Kero.
I mean, growing up in terms of representation, there wasn't much, right? I mean, what I had was the church. I was in church all the time, and that's all I had. And it wasn't really much representation. And growing up with the conservative Christian family I had, all we watched was like these saint movies of them getting martyred in the name of Jesus. And my parents wonder why I have trauma from this, but hey, so like, but that's all I had. And I think part of me doing what I did was because there was no representation. I just decided, you know what? And I've endured substance abuse, homelessness, and violence, and triggering like sexual violence in ways that I don't wish on anyone. And nothing was there. There was no representation for me in any of the community organizations. On TV after 9/11, the only representation of me was a terrorist. Like there was not really or even queer representation. The only thing I do remember though is my parents watching Egyptian movies, and they always had that one character who always played a drag, a woman in the movie, and my parents would laugh their heads off. So I was like, oh, I guess,
yeah,
right, yeah. So in terms of
we were meant to be the butt of the joke. That's not representation.
Exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, in terms of representation, Middle Eastern Nights and KeroPatra in general has reached the ends of the world. I've had people from Egypt come to, they came to Toronto and literally followed me on Instagram, found out I was at the Eagle on one particular night, and this individual was like, I just want to say thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. He's like, no, your story, my story is out there about what I've been through and how I came with Middle Easternites. And he literally said to me, he's like, your story was used to warn parents back home in Egypt of why not to send their kids abroad to study, because they're going to end up like me. But for him, it was a story of hope, and for him to be able to be who he is. And now he, he does drag as well and lives his best life and is empowered. And for me, this was like, oh my God. And I host Yalla Bara now, the Pride stage, and my biggest, most beautiful thing of it is every year when I'm on stage, the newcomers that fled persecutions from the Middle East are always standing front row with the flag and having the best time of their lives. And
because they're seeing something that we're not used to seeing. Do you think, I'm gonna ask you something, and I hope it doesn't trigger or is it difficult to answer. Do you feel that if we had positive representation on television, in magazines, in media, do you feel that what you described as hardship that you encountered, do you think that if we have better role models, that will save some of our community from having to have a harder time?
I'm gonna answer that right away, because no.
Okay.
Reason being, the Middle Eastern, I was going to speak from the Egyptian culture and the Coptic Orthodox culture. It's a cult. We are raised in that lifestyle. Your life is based on that. Anything beyond that, you're told that this is from hell. It could be the most positive representation that you need, but the culture, the influence of wanting to
culture keeps driving us back, keeps holding
to
back.
Please our family, to get their validation, and that concept of what family is and so on, it's so hard to let go of.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
You end up,
the change has to happen a lot deeper than just representation in magazines.
Yeah. That's my opinion, and that's what I believe.
No, I like that. I like that. But listen, all of you, from all your stories, you could never know what this little thing that you lit, this little light that you put out, how it may affect somebody so far away, and they can see that light. And I love that you guys are experiencing those kind of messaging coming to you. That was a very serious conversation, and I'm sorry to do that to you guys. So I promise we're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna lighten the mood, like really lighten the mood. Okay, so don't go anywhere.
Mother, I'm your kid, I'm your star. Oh mother, in my heart when we're far. Mama, your warm blanket holds me snug. Mama, yeah mama, love your smile and your hug. أمي بحب أضحك معك.
And we are back with all those lovely, beautiful people on the screen. And we're gonna play a game. If you watch the show, to my guests, then you know that we play a game at the end of the episode. And basically, I'm just gonna ask you a quick question, and you're gonna just answer whatever comes to mind. So we call it rapid fire questions, whatever we call it. All right, so let's get going. Just answer in the same order. Actually, no. This I don't know if I want to ask.
Start with Annoush.
How well do you guys know each other, or is this you don't?
This is the first time actually like seeing them move and talk.
Okay, then I'm gonna. The first question was describe each other with one adjective, but I don't know you'll be able to count.
Whores. Whores, all of you.
There you go. Okay. Your favorite color? We'll
Pink.
start in the same order. Pink.
Black.
Black.
all over the place with that one. I don't know.
Okay, you don't have a favorite color. Fine. Your
So
favorite?
rose gold, rose gold. I love my rose gold.
You actually do. I just yeah. I'm looking around you. There's a lot of gold influence in what
I
you
love
do.
my rose gold. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Favorite colors always change to me. Some that I remember I used to like it the color baby blue, and then it changed to the yellow, and then to the red, and right now I'm
Well,
more like pink.
colors change with different periods of your life, I guess. Your favorite season of the year?
Spring.
Annoush.
It used to be spring, but I think it's fall.
Nice.
It's
Kero?
fall.
I love summer. I love the smell of my sweat, honey.
Booty shorts, tank top.
Yeah. I'm at the camping trail. I'm in speedos all day, so I'm good.
That's okay. That's a picture I did not need before dinner. But your horoscope, Javid.
What does that mean?
Horoscope. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
I'm an Aries.
Pisces.
There you go. You know what it is. Okay. Do you believe in horoscope?
I do.
You do. You do. You do. Cool. I do too. What makes
I
you
call them
laugh?
horoscopes because it's not good.
What makes you laugh? Not
Seeing
Kero.
other people
Not Kero.
Myself in the mirror. Every morning. What is that? Yeah.
You just read yourself.
Okay. For reals, Javid.
Seeing other people laugh makes me laugh as
Nice.
well.
I like that. Annoush.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Like there's a certain kind of humor that makes me laugh, and it's like that dry, like little bit of dark humor that like the quick jab. That makes me laugh.
Kero?
With
Yeah.
humor, but for me, definitely my dog. He's clumsy as hell.
I love it. That's cute.
I laugh so hard, and he's always like, "Am I in trouble again?" I'm like, "No."
Your favorite time of the day?
Morning.
Okay.
Nighttime.
Nighttime?
Or
Yeah,
like
nighttime.
sunset.
Cool. Okay.
Sunset.
Kero?
Yeah, I like mornings.
Okay. Your favorite evening drink after a long day? What would you pour when you get home after a long day?
Rosé.
Nice.
I mean, I'd rather have a joint, but if I'm gonna have a drink,
What do we all?
cocktail with gin, something with gin and Sprite, gin and something fruity, fun. Yeah.
This is all tequila.
You liar.
No, honestly, for me, it's water. It's weird. I don't like to drink alcohol during the week, but I love my water. Like
You drink a lot of water? That's good. Healthy. I like it. A
I was
song
about to
you
say such a good Muslim, but and then I realized you're not Muslim. Shame on me.
a song you listen to frequently these days. What's your number one song these days?
It's a Persian song.
Okay. What is it
The
called?
one I will perform this weekend.
Okay. at Middle Eastern night. Fantastic. Annoush.
Recently I've had this one song called You Know That Feel Off of Me by Techno.
Okay.
It's been on repeat. It's just like a feel-good song.
Aw.
Yeah.
There's always a song that we listened to recently that is on a repeat, usually,
Yeah.
until you find another song. But yeah, Kero.
so for me, it's a French song by Indila and Emir. They're both Middle Eastern French musicians, and the song is called Pour la Fête, and it's beautiful. It's so, oh my God, it's happy with the Middle Eastern beats and the French Parisian feel to it. It's just perfection. Like, and they're Middle Eastern voices, and they're both just gorgeous, especially Emir. Oh my God.
We're gonna be going on the computer and looking that up.
Yes.
What quirks do you have? A
Say that
quirk.
again.
A quirk. I don't know how to translate that in Persian.
Quirk?
What's a quirk? Thing that you do but is kind of odd. I don't know. Is that what the?
Yeah, that would be a good.
Okay.
I have
A
OCD.
quirk. Like my quirk is I always have to have everything lined up south and north. So if a paper is this way, I have to make it this way, kind of thing.
I don't have this kind of stuff.
You don't have that kind of thing.
No.
You are perfect.
I'm not. I'm not.
I feel like my friends can answer that better, but the one that comes to mind is that I'll ask people for their opinion or what they think, and like just to ask. Like I'm not taking
You're an
which
opinion
annoys
asking person.
people,
Okay.
but yeah, I think that's my like quirk.
Cool. And Kiro.
My quirk, I mean, I have OCD, so my place needs to always look like it's out of a magazine. Like the
Yeah.
pillows need to be in the place.
Is
Pillows
that
have to be
why
like
it always looks like that? Because of your OCD? Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like it's
Yeah, his place is pretty spotless.
yeah, it is. I mean, you could eat off the floor, and I have a dog, and you come over, you're like, can you eat off the floor?
What is your? I'll try to explain this one also. Do you know what a pet peeve is, Javid?
No, I'm not. I don't.
A pet peeve is something that drives you crazy.
Oh, I could answer that one so easily.
Yeah, I can answer that one too, biatch.
Stupid people.
Is
They
what?
drive me crazy. Stupid people.
There you go. That's a pet peeve.
Yeah.
That would be a pet peeve. Okay. Annoush.
I think people who don't will start a sentence without acknowledging the person and how they're doing, and slow walkers.
I love
Slow
Oh,
walk.
Yeah.
they shouldn't be walking. So,
Yeah, like move to the side. I need my runway cleared. I'm in.
I know, runway clear. Kiro.
my pet peeve is when people text, not because they're texting, but instead of one message that's like in one message, it's like, oh my, like a vague message after another one. You're like, oh my God, just freaking tell me what it is.
And your
Like,
phone is going ding, 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 ding,
well,
ding.
at that point, my phone is always on silent. So, but at that point, I'm like, I'm not even gonna answer because
I'm gonna ignore you for that.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try that after the show.
Well, you're muted already. So
What job would you be terrible at?
I made a very good hooker. I was a very good hooker. So that's not it.
David,
I don't
what job you don't want to try because you know they're gonna be terrible at?
I don't know, fixing cars.
Sure, fair enough. For me, it would be waitering, or serving. I would be.
Oh, that's too easy. I did that actually for a couple of years here.
You did? Yeah, I know.
When I first moved here, yeah.
I was awful at it. I tried it twice. I ran out.
I would be horrible at anything like engineering, like math, science.
Yeah,
Also
I
like
get you.
manual labor, I'm not a fan of. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to like
we
a lot.
we like being creative. You got
Yeah. If I'm dancing and performing, like sure I can sweat, but like physically, like moving things, heavy lifting, no, not for me.
Cool. Kiro.
a pole dancer.
You'll break.
I don't think the pole would stay. I don't literally go.
You'll break the pole.
I'll break the pole. No.
You
No,
are
honestly,
hilarious. Thank you.
It's very. I think a doctor. Oh my God, a doctor or a nurse. I would puke. I'm a sympathetic.
Actually, I didn't think
puker.
about that yet too. I don't like blood at all, so I would be terrible.
I would faint and puke.
Yeah,
All
at the
person.
same
I'm sorry.
It actually reminds me of my when we were younger. I think we were in Greece with my cousins, and we were all running around the playground, and my cousin fell because of me. I think I like kind of pushed him. We were playing, and then he gets up, and his hand his thumb is broke, is like bleeding, and instead of me caring for my cousin, I passed out.
You're like, oh my God, are you okay?
And the whole family is fussing over me instead of the guy.
Oh my God.
All right. What dish do you cook that no one should miss?
Molocheia. My molocheia is to
You
die
make
for.
you seriously? You
I
make
make a
molokhia?
killer molocheia, yes.
Oh, cool for you. Good for you. That's a lot. That's a lot of work. It's not an easy dish.
Yeah.
It's an Egyptian, very authentic Egyptian dish. The ingredient, the
it's,
recipe for it is actually in hieroglyphs inside the pyramids. That's how ancient it is. It's
You
so good.
serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know that Molokhia comes from. I thought everything comes from Lebanon.
That is the most Lebanese answer ever.
I was gonna say, you sound like every Lebanese.
He
person.
knows that I joke about that, yeah,
I
because
know.
Lebanese people are freaking arrogant. But I'm kidding. Javid, what's
It's hard to pick because I think I'm a good cook, and I make all the most of the Persian dishes.
so you cook
myself.
Persian? You do cook Persian? Cool.
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
Ms. Abdi?
So brunch at your place on Sunday, Javed, after Middle Eastern nights.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
We lost the connection.
I can't
Annoush,
hear you guys.
He starts saying in Persian, "I don't understand."
yeah, that's when he loses the language. Annoush, what's your dish?
My go-to that I make is guacamole. That's like
Ooh.
You
my
make
thing. Yeah.
guacamole?
Yeah,
I like that.
guacamole. I'll take that, which is not in the region of any of our cultures, but I make a good guac.
Cool. Are you always early or late?
I'm always late.
You're always late.
That's good to know for
Come here,
Saturday.
I would
Thank
throw you out.
Early. None of us.
Kiro, schedule your event a little bit later, just in case.
No, I mean I said it's opening at 9, but it's
I realized it's 10.
no, it's actually at 9. It opens
It is
at
All
at
right.
9.
Nobody
Don't be
shows
late.
up till 11. Yeah.
Annoush, late or early?
In drag, I'm always early. Outside of drag, I'm late.
You're always late.
For me, it's totally
I
opposite
take
way.
after my mom.
Okay. Javed, you said you're opposite?
Yeah, when
You're
in drag,
late in drag?
I'm
Okay.
always late. Always.
Why?
But
Because it
I-
takes longer?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I actually
Yeah,
always
as I said,
budget-
I started. It's been just 2 years, and I'm still.
It takes
Yeah.
you longer, absolutely. And actually, I always factor that if it's a seasoned drag artist, then I know they're probably very quick on their feet to get their face and whatever on. But I always leave a little bit room because I know I mean, and you have to appreciate that it's not easy to get into drag. People don't. I've never done it, but I've seen it.
You should though.
Yeah, let's put you in drag. Let's do it.
I've had friends throughout my 30 years to tell me that I need to, but
You should do it for this pride.
maybe.
Yes.
If I'm gonna need convincing. It's just like I said. It's the big thing is it takes a lot of work, and if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it freaking right, man. It's gonna be right. Cool. Describe, and we're gonna finish with that. Describe a romantic date.
Oh.
If you're going on a romantic date, what would be a nice?
No, I'm just kidding.
Huh?
Straight to the bedroom on his back. No talk.
All right, Javed.
Describe a romantic date. I'm actually a romantic person, but I don't know why.
But I'm completely
I'm
out of
very
it.
romantic.
Where would you, if you're going on a first date, where would you take the person?
The first date, the restaurant.
Okay.
But for a romantic date, which is for me, it's after a couple,
Yeah, you gotta get to
couple
know.
of times seeing him by the sea.
Yeah, by the water, something by the water. Yeah, cool. Annoush.
A romantic date. I feel like it's like an ideal date, but something that has a little bit of adrenaline. So some form of like activity, something that is meaningful, and something that like ends the night with like quality time.
Skydiving? No.
Yeah. Honestly, I would if somebody wants to take me
You
on a
would?
date,
You would go on a
I
first
would
date?
say yes.
Good for you.
I've never been, but like I like things like that. But like for
Yeah,
me,
imagine the rush that you would feel after.
yeah, because
and on a date? Yeah, absolutely.
coffee
Hero.
date and all that are just so typical. Like I like to do the out of ordinary things.
Very nice. Kiro.
That's awesome, man. In a back alley.
Yes, we know. And with
I
that,
like your honest.
They never lasted, but 2 hours was good. No. For me, honestly, it's simple. I like simple, nothing complicated. I mean, just get together, go for a walk, and if the day
Go
takes
along.
us to a walk or whatever, and for me, the make or break is that ends with just that cuddle and kiss. Not even go to the bedroom, just that cuddle and kiss
Interesting.
that releases those extra pheromones. Where like, okay, this is going somewhere. I
Okay.
like this.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
I said we're gonna
And
finish.
then and the sling on the second date.
I said I'm gonna finish with that question, but I'll get one more. After a long week of hard work, what do you describe your ideal way to spend a weekend?
Spending that weekend with my
Weed
dog
and
and
eat.
with my partner.
Cool, very nice. Annoush?
Going out dancing, being friends, and having like some form of solo time. So taking a bath or like doing something that's like for me.
Cool. Kero?
I mean, for me, it's relax and do not shut my brain down.
Yeah.
As you
do-
know,
you
I
like to
do a
disconnect,
lot.
Yeah.
I need to disconnect, and especially from social media. Like Sundays is my anti-social media day. I don't even look at my phone. Anyone text message me that day, nothing. But ideally is when I am with my partner. Like our time together is always beautiful, romantic, and his arms always feel like home when we're together, and vice versa. And it's like, yeah, I the
Aw.
best.
Aw.
And my dog, and get to
And my
spend time with
dog.
my dog. Yes.
This was beautiful, and everything you guys said and answers on the episode. Thank you. I hope this was not painful. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Antoine. This was lovely.
Yeah, I
Thank
hope you
for
enjoyed
having
your
us.
time. And
For me, this is the very first time that I sit with other, Middle Eastern people from the LGBT community, and it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
then I did my job. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you for having us, and I'm excited to see you all on Saturday.
Yes.
Everyone, thanks for
I'm excited
watching.
to see as well.
thank you for watching, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com. Join us on the couch, / join us on the couch. And thank you for continuing to watch this show. We're on our 8th season. I love you guys. Keep watching, and bye to all of my lovely guests.
Love you, everyone.